Goeiemiddag mense. The autumn equinox is upon us. Well, more like the 20th of March, but whatever. Let's talk about stuff to do in autumn. Now, besides my grass looking a little bit long, you can see there's like a whitish haze all over the place. And that's seed head. Also, I don't know if you can see it, there's a couple little dots of stuff. Something else happening. Now, the seed heads are not an issue. They come about whenever the grass is under a bit of stress, change of season, and even when the grass is in a good mood. The thing that's starting to concern me is I've got mushrooms popping up everywhere, and mushrooms can create a hydrophobic layer. So I'm going to put down a penetrative wetting agent to try and break past and through those mushrooms so that the roots, the grass roots, can get a little bit of that water too. At the moment, the mushrooms are stealing it. And for your high-fold guys in particular, you would notice that things are slowly starting to dry up. Me standing in the rain right now is not an indication of that. But as we start progressing deeper into autumn, we're going to start getting less and less water, rain. So you're going to start experiencing, possibly even by April or May, you're going to see your grass going what looks as if it's dormant. And that's not temperature-induced dormancy. That is stress-related dormancy from you not watering your lawn. So make sure that you get down a penetrative wetting agent. The next thing to pay attention to is if you've picked up any kind of funky discoloration or patchiness in your lawn. It may be a turf grass disease, which is very likely at this time of the year. It could also be an insect issue. So one of the best ways to identify it is to go and do the soap test to see if you pick up any insects that may be causing that damage. Otherwise, it's very likely a turf grass disease. Early in the season, it's absolutely not likely that it's something like dormancy, for example, so it must be a disease or a pest. Now, if you're not sure of how to identify the issue, you can just pop me an email or DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and I will gladly help you out. And just a little sub note regarding the disease side of things. Getting some aeration done on your turf will also help significantly. So the penetrative wetting agent is going to help with water movement, and that's obviously good for many reasons. Remember, standing water is quite bad and it can induce problems, which turn out to be quite bad for you later on where you have to apply a product. But also poking some holes in the ground, just with a regular old garden fork, or if you can afford it, you go and you hire a company that can come out and do solid or even core aeration at this time of the year. Is perfectly fine to do it. Get it done, get some air movement, decompact if you feel that that's necessary, because that will also help with minimizing the potential for diseases to nail you. Now, just talking about weeds, you can still do some post-emergent treatments. Now, it's more a case of do it sooner rather than later, because when the grass starts to go dormant and it's under that heavy stress, then you don't really want to do post-emergent control, because then you may start to damage the grass. You either need to do it now, as in sooner rather than later, when the temperatures are still warm enough and the grass is still actively growing, or you need to wait until the grass is already fully dormant, and then you can start treating that way. And please, even though you can, it's not ideal to go and stick a Roundup of your lawn. I know you've watched those YouTube videos in the past where the guys are like, oh, you can put down glyphosate on your dormant lawn, and technically you can, but there are still residual effects that occur, and it is all in all proven to not be a good idea. Rather, use the specific weed, the selective herbicide, the weed killer for that specific range of weeds, so task specific stuff. And if you've got access to products like Pennant Magnum, even Lawn Towel, believe it or not, has some pre-emergent value, then you can put that down now as well to try and help treat and prevent those winter weeds from starting to creep up. It's a little bit later in the season, not really now, but you can start looking at how to obtain these things and get your hands on them if you feel that you even need to in the first place. For me, post-emergent control has worked perfectly fine, and even at this stage right now, my lawn is under very good control, so I find that I have to use the stuff less and less. Again, if you've got questions and queries, you email me, you put it in the comments, just get a hold of me in some way and ask questions. Don't just go and tackle things if you're not 100% sure. In South Africa, not everything's so clear-cut for us. The Australian, the European, the American guys have got their turf industry laid out on a silver platter. All the information is just available. Not so much the same in South Africa. Things are a little bit more confusing. So if you're not sure, ask someone who might know. Now, regarding height of cut, do you raise your height of cut for autumn? The simple answer is no. Because as the season progresses, you're going to start mowing less and less, and you're going to end up on those days where the grass actually kind of thickens up itself. You just let it be. There is no reason that you need to increase that height of cut. On top of that, if you start to increase your height of cut too much, you make that error. You got those cold nights and warm days during autumn with enough moisture, you're looking for a disease issue. So it's actually best to just let it be, play it safe, normal height of cut for autumn. As you get closer to winter, you're not going to need to mow anymore anyway. Alright, it's just started to rain, so I don't think I'm going to get to a mow today, but let's talk about fertilizers before ending this vid. Alright, so I was going to give you a nice lesson in fertilization, but when I realized how long that was going to be, I decided to cut back to the basics. So what you need to pay attention to on the three numbers on the front of the bag, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, is this one at the end, potassium. Why? Because that helps build a stronger plant and it's able to help it withstand the stresses that you'll see in autumn and in winter. Do not raise your phosphorus too much. You can see I'm only raising it by 30 grams per kilogram, so not double, not triple, not quadruple as I've seen one or two suggestions for, just a little bit extra to help it along. And you can also tell that the nitrogen is half of what I did. This is Novotec NMAX, and that's classic. This is much higher, and that's what I did for a little bit of push over the growing period. It's now half. Okay, so if I apply the same application rate of this as what I did there, so 20 grams per square meter, this is how the plant will see it. A little bit more phos, a good amount more potassium, which is that's the point that we're trying to make right here, but half the nitrogen. And then even if you go over to organic products like this, and yes, you can use organic products, especially in the beginning of autumn, there's still plenty of time for them to be very, very active. You'll take note here that even a product like TerraPlus Natura K has at least an equal or even number of nitrogen versus the phos. The potassium is the thing that's important, and that's what I'm trying to portray here. In fact, even in this one's case, this is a rounded up figure. The nitrogen's around 4, so 40 grams per kilogram. This is less, it's rounded up. Right, so I think that's definitely enough info for this video. No need to overcomplicate it. The big thing is, it's still early autumn. You do not have to stress yet. There's plenty of time for you to do something constructive with your lawn before we start to get into those real stresses of late autumn and winter. If you live in a cold region, and you will know if you live in a cold region, then you need to be a lot more cautious than a guy like me who lives in Pretoria. Even the guys in Joburg don't stress yet. Alright, so please like and subscribe, hit the little bell notification so that you're reminded every time I put up a new video. Share this with your buddies. Comment, give me a shout on backyardbushveld.co.za if you need any help with anything or you just got questions and queries. I'm happy to chat. I'm a flexible bloke most of the time. Anyway, cheers.
It sound right, boy.